Welcome to the very first episode of Travel Smart, the Insider's travel show from independent TV.
In this series, we'll be sharing our take on the best destinations to visit, as well as the most sustainable ways to explore the world.
We'll also be bringing you the latest news, trends and innovations from the world of travel.
In this episode, we head to the Italian region of Puglia, travel by train to Antwerp, and give you the inside track on what to do while you're there.
We'll also be grappling with the budget airlines cabin baggage rules and telling you why now could be a really good time to book that package holiday.
When you think about great food on your travels, more often than not you'll think of Italy.
Whilst it's almost impossible to have a bad holiday in Italy, in Puglia this is where you can really immerse yourself in the rural cultural life. This olive grove portion in the heel of Italy is firmly on trend, and it's a fantastic place to go in autumn.
In this ancient farming region, hundreds of charming old masserias or farmhouses have been turned into hotels, wineries and olive oil mills. It's a laid-back travel scene that's begun to attract the big names in fashion, as well as jet-set types looking to unwind. Cyclists will love pedalling between pretty whitewashed towns and secret coastal swimming spots. And autumn is a cool and sunny time to explore, with temperatures lingering in the low 20s Celsius. There are some glamorous five-star places to stay, such as celeb favourite Borgo Ignazia. But we'd recommend staying at least one of your nights in a masseria, one of the farmhouses, or even in a trulli, one of this area's strange traditional roundhouses with a pointed roof. With coast nearby on all sides, this is the place to eat fresh fish. Raw seafood or crudo is the speciality here, as well as local orecchietti pasta. You'll also laze on some lovely beaches, on the rugged, rocky Adriatic coast or the sandy Ionian coast.
What's the biggest pain point in aviation? For a lot of people, it's cabin bags. Is it too big, too heavy? Are they going to take it off me at the gate and charge me a fortune? Or are they going to make me check it in and I'll never see it again? How did all this start? And how can you get around the rules? 2006. Yes, that was the year when the great cabin baggage wars began. Flybe said, oh, you want to check in a bag? That's going to cost you an extra couple of pounds. And as soon as the airlines realised that Flybe was getting away with it, well, they all started bundling on charges for checking in bags, 20, 30, 40 pounds. Oh, you want to carry a second piece of cabin baggage? That'll be another 10, 20 pounds. So, the story is, if you're on EasyJet, Ryanair or Wizz Air, just have one piece of cabin baggage. If you can't get it all in there, you probably don't need it. But if you're on an airline like British Airways, short haul or long haul, or one of the big American airlines, then you're allowed to bring two pieces of cabin baggage, including a fairly large roll-along case, and on BA, it's 23 kilograms here and 23 kilograms there, all for free. And of course, if you check anything in at all, well, you just have to be prepared never to see it again.
With the climate crisis well documented, I decided 3 years ago to give up air travel and go flight free. It was an unusual decision for a travel editor, but it felt increasingly important to encourage holidaymakers to pick more sustainable forms of travel and to normalise the idea of taking a trip without flying. And here's the fun part. Stopping planes for trains, ferries, bikes and more opens up all kinds of opportunities and allows you, the traveller, to experience destinations in a whole new way. One of my favourite new destinations, easily accessible from the UK, is Antwerp in Belgium. It's incredibly quick to reach by rail. Simply hop on the Eurostar at St Pancras Station in London, alight in Brussels and catch an onward train to Antwerp. The whole thing only takes around 3 hours and 20 minutes. Why Antwerp? Well, it's a compact historic port city packed with Flemish Renaissance architecture and cultural big hitters. Most excitingly, the Royal Museum of Fine Arts has finally reopened after an 11-year, €100 million refurbishment. It's an artistic heavyweight, but far from feeling stuffy or pretentious, there are playful elements scattered throughout. My top tip? Keep an eye out for the singing bum. At The Independent, we get sent hundreds of travel questions every single week. So we're just going to dive in with some that we've been sent this morning. And Simon is going to answer them for us. So first up, an anonymous viewer says she booked a £25,000 holiday in the Maldives through a well-known agency and has now been asked to pay £2,000 extra. Is that legal, she asks?
£25,000 holiday. Well, not only is it legal, I'm afraid it's also, Helen, very predictable. If my maths does not let me down, £2,000 is exactly 8% of £25,000.
All right.
And the maximum that any holiday company can surcharge its customers after they've been priced up and paid for the holiday is 8%.
Oh.
Any more than that, 8.1%, and she would have the right to cancel and get all her money back. So unbelievably often, the surcharge that you get is exactly 8%. And the thing I would say to her is, have they said, here is an exact explanation of why our costs have increased? And of course, the price of aviation fuel has gone up. The value of the pound has collapsed. All of that makes things more expensive, but they have to explain why they are making that. And if it's any less than 2% and they're a member of ABTA, they have to absorb the extra. So everything tends to be in the range of 2% to 8%, but actually it's in the range of 8% to 8%. And I'm very sorry, not much you can do about that.
Well, sorry, Anonymous. OK, moving on to Alan Beattie from Northern Ireland, who says, we've booked flights to spend Christmas with our son, who lives in Nottingham. We want travel insurance just in case sudden illness or accident prevented us from travelling, but it seems we can only get a policy if we have booked and paid for accommodation. Is there any way around this?
Well, it's an unusual question because most of the time, if you're taking a domestic flight within the UK, you just think, well, and it's a Christmas flight, so I'm going to say maybe £200 max.
Yeah.
Now, to ensure that £200 of value, even if you could find somebody to do it, it would cost £10, £15 just because it's a bit of faff. And I simply wouldn't bother because actually, and heaven forbid, that he does fall ill or he has an accident or something, in that point you talk to the airline, you say, this has happened, can you please give me a credit note? And very often they'll say yes. So I frankly wouldn't bother. Save that money and buy yourself a drink in lovely Nottingham.
Well, thank you, Simon, and thank you for sending us your questions. Please keep them coming.
Now, of course, you might be planning a holiday in order to remove yourself from all the turmoil that's going on the financial markets, but I'm afraid they will have a direct effect on your holiday. Of course, aviation fuel is priced in US dollars. Aircraft leases, the same, and therefore, as soon as the pound sinks against the US currency, well, it means that everything for UK companies becomes more expensive. So you might be thinking, well, this is a terrible time to book a holiday, except I don't think it is. The big holiday firms have bought their dollars ahead of time, and many of them are also committed to lower fuel costs. That means that you're going to get the value feeding through, even in peak summer 2023. 29th of July indeed, Gatwick to Malta, lovely week's holiday, £442 per person. And I bet you won't get a surcharge on that either.
That's it for this episode of Travel Smart on Independent TV. Be sure to check in for the next episode, which you can watch on the Independent's website, our mobile app, or on your smart TV.
And of course, you can keep up to date with all the travel news and views, inspiration and information at independent.co.uk/travel. You can also subscribe to my daily travel podcast. But for now, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.